How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VTWProductions.com. Well, actually, we're on YouTube this time, aren't we? Because we're down to
Yep.
Fern.
There's no
What's your favorite
Fernurion.
shows?
He's gone. He's gone off to learn about
Was-
dogs again. I think.
Yeah, I think this one's dog training. I'm not sure. I forgot to ask him. So, it's just us. Artist still.
And Wallace, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary for the week on the things that have been happening in the games industry, which is not really very much, to be quite honest. But we'll do our best anyway. If you would like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us an email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can get involved with the show at any time by going to joining in our Discord chat by going to any show post on vtwproductions.com and clicking the shortcut to link you into our Discord, and we're pretty much always in there. We aren't live today because we're pre-recording this on YouTube, which I'm going to have to edit, which I'm not looking forward to. But at any rate, you can communicate with us anytime. So there's multiple different channels to discuss multiple different things, and lots of Ari's walls of text. So, yeah.
Okie doke. So, I guess we're starting with your week then, since Fern's not here. You're going to figure out real quick, listeners that haven't heard the Marshmallow and Librarian show, why this is a bad idea.
Well, yeah, it's just we need Fernurion to keep us on the straight and narrow, you know. We're just not good at this by ourselves. But so my week, what did I do this week? I didn't do very much of anything this week, to be honest. As usual, I'm sort of cooling my heels, sort of procrastinating continually on the topic of getting a job. Well, I mean, it's not as though I could just get one by wanting to have one, but yeah, I'm going to have to do some actual work this coming week, probably to prepare for my defensive thesis. But at the moment, I'm just basically being slovenly. Video games wise, as usual, I haven't done much other than play World of Warcraft, which has really started to bite down on me this past week. The AP grind has sort of finally exhausted my patience. I don't think that I can really bring myself to do it anymore. It's too much. It's gotten too much. It's gotten too painful. I was doing it on 2 characters, which is what was making it a lot worse. A lot worse than it really needed to be. But I've cut that back down to 1 character now, using the excuse of Celestalon can't leave well enough alone, and he's trying to revamp the Brewmaster again mid-expansion. And I don't know why he thinks that's a good idea, or why he's doing it at all, because it's not necessary. The Brewmaster isn't significantly overpowered, nor is it significantly underpowered right now.
Class fantasy, yo.
But the changes aren't really class fantasy related. He seems to have some sort of ideal in mind for...
He has a vision, and he wants it implemented, and he keeps getting it wrong every time.
Well, the thing is that's what it seemed like initially, when he was designing it for Legion, because that was a real case of burning everything that existed to the ground and then putting something new together. But this time around, it's more like he's trying to check off some kind of boxes in his mind, like, oh, well, the abilities have to do this and they have to have this, and I think that this is the result of them relentlessly pruning away all of the interesting things about every class. Is that now they're trying to, make things interesting again, and the recent developer Q&A sort of bears this out to some extent. I haven't watched it myself, but the people that I've talked to have said that there is sort of a sense that they feel like they made a mistake when they pruned everything away. Because you've got to wait till mid-expansion to admit that, rather than, listening to the players when they tell you that up front while you're designing it and still have time to back down. But, so what they're changing is they're basically trying to make the rotation more interesting, whatever that's supposed to mean, since rotations are really genuinely interesting.
Yeah, that is one of the words I hate the most is make the rotation more interesting because it doesn't actually mean anything. It just means we're going to tweak the numbers so the rotation is going to change most of the time. Sometimes they add a new button for you to push.
Yeah. Well, what they're doing is that they're basically. I don't. I got livid when I read about these changes because not because the changes were bad because well the changes are bad in a lot of ways but the current ones that they're planning on but what it was just another case of it being demonstrated to me in full living color that our class designer has not played the class, does not understand the class, in fact may have never tanked a raid boss before ever, because this is what I would expect from somebody in that situation that just doesn't know, just doesn't understand, doesn't grasp it, because what they want to do is they want to give proper defensive value to a couple of our abilities that don't have baseline defensive value, and the core one with that is Blackout Strike, because Blackout Strike at the moment, if you don't take Blackout Combo, is a very weird little ability. It's got like a base cooldown of I think like 3 seconds on a class which has a global cooldown of 1 second, so it doesn't mesh with anything, especially well. Um, was it 1.5? I don't remember. At any rate, it doesn't mesh with anything very well, but more to the point, it sort of doesn't really do anything. It just does damage. You press the button and damage happens.
Hmm.
So it's always felt like a bit of an odd bird, but it's just another thing to fit into the rotation, and nobody's really had any problem with it because you can make it do things like a lot of the things it does are stupid once you've talented it out. Like it with a fully kitted out artifact weapon, it's a solid medium damage ability with a really high crit chance. Like it's a good chunk of threat, and it has this very odd secondary effect once you've got artifact traits, which make it reduce the damage that the next auto attack you receive from the thing you hit with it does. And boss auto attacks can sometimes be rather large, so that's a non-negligible thing. But that has also been a very weird thing to do, since dodging auto attacks is sort of the shtick of the monk class, the brewmaster spec.
Hmm.
So having something that reduces auto attack damage on a class that is trying to dodge auto attacks seems not intuitive. So there's all sorts of janky things about Blackout Strike. But their way of solving this was to decide that, oh, you know what, we're going to make it so Blackout Strike gives you a stack of Elusive Brawler. Elusive Brawler is our mastery, and what it does is it gives you a stacking buff every time you fail to dodge an attack to dodge the next one, basically, and the stacks will disappear when you dodge. So I've got a mastery of 24% at the moment. So if I fail to... my base dodge is... what's my base dodge? My base dodge is 15%ish. So if I fail to dodge an attack, then it'll go up to 40% chance that I'll dodge the next one. If I fail to dodge that one, up to 65% chance, like that. Now,
Hmm.
that's a mastery that I'm not especially happy with, because realistically there is no tank that likes dodge. Period. End. Tanks would rather not dodge if they don't have to, and honestly, brewmasters could probably make do without it if they really had to. But the thing is, Celestalon came out with this big, like, because people complaining about using elusive brawler to add tanking ability, and Celestalon came out and he repeated his grand mistake of the beta process, which was to come into the forums and tell all of the mythic brewmasters that they were bad and wrong for not liking it.
He's very good at this whole PR thing.
He and it got a lot of backs up, mine included. But the the issue is that he seems to be under the delusion that dodge is good, which is, first of all tells me he's never played a tank, because dodge is not good, and secondly that he starts talking about how, oh well, I mean, the spike damage isn't dangerous on its own. dangerous relative to the increase that it is over top of the baseline damage and so on and so forth. What he doesn't seem to understand is that dodge is nothing more than a very bad kind of armor.
I haven't used dodge tanking since vanilla, when I was bad at the game, and on Gruul when we were still having trouble with him. Those are the only times I used dodge, and there was a special reason for Gruul. I forget why.
Yeah, well, that's because Gruul could, remove all of your hit points with with adjacent attacks. So you had to dodge sometimes to allow healers time to catch up. But the issue is that dodge is just a bad kind of armor, and he doesn't seem to understand this. The giving us extra dodge doesn't actually improve our situation, because we are not better than classes which use armor to mitigate damage. But they're making us better by means of giving us bad armor, because there is nothing that armor doesn't work on that can be dodged. So they are at least on tier there. Secondarily, there are things that dodge does not work on that armor does. And thirdly, dodge is not reliable. So essentially, you are creating a special kind of mitigation that only works on white hits. And white hits are just bedrock damage. Like every class has to have roughly the same resistance to white hits in order for, things to be designed correctly. And that's just not the case. If you are relying on dodge as the overall increase in capacity to tank, because then you suddenly become very, very good at tanking white damage, but it is impossible to tell that you're very, very good at tanking white damage, because white damage never kills you. He's got this strange idea that the bosses still work the way they did in vanilla, where the bulk of the damage in the fight was white damage. That's never been the case in recent years.
Yeah, it's all AoE damage and spell damage now.
Yeah,
or big physical cleaves.
Like there were a few situations in Mythic Hellfire Citadel, particularly Tyrant Valhari, who could auto attack you to death, in her enraging, in her sort of soft enrage phase. But that was like a corner case, and you didn't bring a monk for that purpose anyway. Like, it wasn't for dodging. It was because monks could put up enormous absorb shields back then. But basically, he's been repeatedly trotting out this line that elusive brawler is actually really, really good, and it allows you to dodge these attacks, which means that because monks don't suffer spike damage anyway because they can stagger, therefore we're just reducing the total damage. But no, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't matter. The fact is that white damage is negligible because it's predictable. All tanks care about is consistency. They don't care about the precise amount of damage, provided it doesn't kill them. The perturbations to consistency are the spikes. That's what you need to defend yourself against. Making us better at white hits won't make us better at surviving, because you don't get killed by white hits. Unless they're planning to just redesign the damage model for bosses entirely, and all accounts from the PTR is that they haven't done that.
Yeah, it sounds like he is inventing a solution to a problem that he thinks is there, that everybody else is like, what are you talking about?
Like he's saying that, oh, you're just evaluating the situation based on the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is in the game right now. That's the thing. People have a good reason to think that way. Star Augur doesn't have an auto attack. All of his damage is magical. All of it.
Yeah.
Our entire mastery does nothing in that fight, unless you tank the ads at the end, in which case it does a negligible amount.
Yeah, it seems like he believes that all the bosses are like slow, hard-hitting, chunky bosses, and that's how we fix this problem that he's invented.
There's one fight in there, I think, where it matters, and that's probably Botanist. I would say you can probably get some good mileage out of dodge in there, but you're not going to gear for one boss, especially considering Botanist is very rarely what a good guild gets stuck on. Guilds got stuck on Star Augur they got stuck on Alisand, they got stuck on Gul'dan, they did not get stuck on Botanist. And that's because the type of damage that can be mitigated via dodge is not a cause for wiping. It isn't. You're not going to ever worry about that. It's really dumb. He keeps changing things. Like, PTR's gone through so many iterations on the Brewmaster lately. It changes several times a week at this point. And from what I've tracked of what has been happening in the design, they have basically backpedaled on every change that they've made so far. I don't know how many of the changes they've made are still in there, because they keep undoing them again, because they're almost always terrible ideas. It's very troublesome. I don't really know how to pass it. Like, I was already unhappy with a lot of their design decisions for the next tier of content, and this does not encourage me, because they're meddling with something that's not broken. Like, there are some changes I can understand why they're making them. Like, they want to cap the amount of Iron Skin brew that you can build up at a time. I totally understand why you might want to do that, because there are a lot of fights which have particularly slow tank swaps, which you have quite a bit of amount of time where you're not taking severe amounts of damage. You can build up huge amounts of Iron Skin brew buffer time, and then be unnaturally good at mitigation throughout the rest of the fight. Like, today, we took down Mythic Crozus for the first time. We spent all weekend wiping on him, and on the last pull today, we finally killed him. And I had miscalculated a little bit and ended up with too much. I took too much damage early on, and I ended up with too big of a buffer of Iron Skin brew, so I should have been purifying more at the start of the fight and been more consistent throughout. But in the end, I hadn't purified enough early on, and I had a big chunk of Iron Skin brew, and then by the time we had 1 minute left until Enrage, I had more than 1 minute of Iron Skin brew. So I basically spent the entire back end of the fight spam purifying and took no damage for like the last minute. I was practically immortal. That's what they're hedging against. That's what they want to not be the case. And I do understand that. That does make sense why you would want to avoid that scenario. So I don't mind them looking at changes they could potentially make in that direction. Like, that makes sense. The problem is all of these other changes. Like, they're adding this new talent called Spitfire, and that's supposed to reduce the cooldown on Breath of Fire relative to your uses of Tiger Palm or something like that, because the legendary chest resets the cooldown on Breath of Fire if you use Keg Smash. So it's pretty much mandatory, because Breath of Fire puts up a debuff on the opponent that dramatically reduces your damage taken. It's a very, very powerful tanking ability. So they want to get rid of that enormous sort of feast or famine advantage. Like, either you have that legendary and you can tank really well, or you don't have it and you can't. It's worth too much. Everybody needs it, because you getting 100% uptime on that ability is too important. So they're putting in this sort of like a poor man's version, but all that really does is mean that the legendary is now bad. And it turned out that, so we've got this poor man's version in here now. So because everybody now has access to it, and it was balanced around everybody not having access to fast cooldowns on Breath of Fire, I guess now we need to nerf Hot-Blooded so that the debuff, which improves your tanking, is not as powerful, since everybody's going to have access to it now, whether they've got the legendary or not. And so what that
this train of logic makes not a lot of sense on that part. So why would they nerf the debuff?
Because they think it'll make them too strong on average. No, notwithstanding the fact that every serious tank already has that legendary, because it's the most important thing for you to get. So what they ended up deciding to do was they were going to halve the amount of mitigation that you got out of Hot-Blooded and double the duration, which basically means that everybody functionally using that talent can now accomplish having that legendary. So the legendary now only Actually, I think that I'm not sure. It sounded like they might be doing it globally, whether or not you have that particular legendary. I'm not really sure on that. Their posts haven't been especially clear, but basically it means that the legendary has gone from being the best in slot legendary for Brewmasters to being the second worst, I think. Second to worst.
Good job, Liz.
So, yeah, it's deeply appalling and really annoying, and one of the many reasons that I'm deeply paranoid about Tomb of Sargeras design, because nothing about it speaks of them knowing what they're doing so much as them fumbling blindly in the dark. And they've made a number of changes of that sort of thing where they're just sort of fiddling. That's the feeling. They're fiddling with it.
Yeah, they're doing stuff they should be doing on the PTR on live.
Well,
they're
no,
letting stuff
I'm not
come
saying
to
that,
live too early.
I'm not saying that the stuff is on live, because it's not. The stuff is on PTR, but they are fiddling with it for the sake of fiddling with it. That's the problem, because there isn't a problem on live. That's the thing. What I think what they're afraid of seems to be that it will turn out in future in Tomb of Sargeras, rather than waiting and testing it to find out if there's a problem. I think that they're concerned that there will be a problem in future, and therefore now they've got to do something about it and head it off at the pass. But there's no reason to believe that would be so, because the problems that I see right now is that I think that Mythic Tomb is overtuned a little bit. Not very much, just a little bit. And the tank balance is just bad. Like, Druid tanks are overpowered to an absurd degree, and monks are very, very slightly too powerful, I think. Like, it's a very, very small amount that they're too powerful. And there are on the other side of the ledger, you've got things like paladins. I think are roughly in the right spot. Like, if you play cleverly with a paladin, you're very strong, and if you play poorly, you're very weak. Because the slight overtuning has meant that you need to be very, very cunning with your active mitigation, which is what sort of was starting to encourage me to go back to playing paladin. But in the end, I just don't have the energy to farm 2 sets of AP. But it's got, while the base rotation for paladin is still boring as sin, the actual application of your tanking abilities has to be done with a great deal of cunning and forethought. So it's interesting in that way. The problem is Death Knights are basically unplayable right now, for all intents and purposes, because, and this is another problem that I've had with what it looks like from their design. Like, the only way someone like Celestalon can think the things that he does is if the class design team never communicates with the encounter design team, like, ever.
Yeah.
And that's what Death Knights look like to me, because the problem with Death Knights is that they decided, oh, you know what, we can do this. So you've got the monk, which is basically a purely preemptive mitigation. Like, your mitigation is very, very bad unless you preempt important things with Iron Skin Brew and then cleanse it off with the right timing. So in a sort of a reflection of that, they decided, and there are a lot of tanks like that, and in a reflection of that, they decided to do things to the Decade which make it essentially the closest thing to a pure reactive tank spec. And the problem with a purely reactive tank spec is that they get insta-jibbed by everything.
Yeah, and mythic levels of damage, you die.
Yeah, you can't do a lot of this content with Death Knights. It's just very, very, very hard. It's not like nobody has done it, but it's unreasonably difficult compared to using the other specs. Demon Hunters are similar. They have a very, very heavy emphasis on reactive healing as well. Not quite to the extent that the Death Knight does, but very, very close to it. And they just get shattered by incoming damage as well. And Warriors, they just seem kind of janky. Like, I do have a max level prot warrior, and I cannot get the hang of it. Like, it just feels very, very weird. You're permanently in a state of having too much rage or too little. You don't really feel like you can meaningfully impact the amount of damage that comes in. You end up in this position where you always feel like you're too far ahead on your mitigation when it doesn't matter, and you fall behind when it does. Like, it's very uncomfortable. You don't really feel in control. You feel like you're racing against death. And so, and they've become very unpopular as well. So you've got, half of the tanks are appearing in all of the top end play, and the other half don't appear ever.
Oh, I see.
But
That's not good.
They're fiddling with the Brewmaster. There are 3 entire tank classes whose participation levels are completely evaporating at the top level because they just aren't good enough, and they're fiddling with the Brewmaster, which is other than the Paladin, probably the closest thing to in the right place that they have in the game for that archetype. And they aren't, and it would be fine if they were making adjustments that looked like they were, well, we've got a plan, we want to do this, this, and this. But no, they're making adjustments basically at random and reverting them next week. It's not really inspiring, to be honest.
And I don't know, man. It seems weird. Maybe it's a secret nerf. They want to nerf you to make the other classes better.
I mean, the thing is that if I crunch the numbers, other than making the rotation janky, it's actually a buff. It will make us even stronger. We'll end up, depending on the damage model, we could end up where Druids are now. Because Druids are getting a brutal nerf. Not enough to make them bad, but enough to bring them in line, since they're that far out of line right now. They're just outright removing their anti-magic mitigation button. Because currently it allows them to be immortal. So, yeah, they are getting brought down, but Brewmasters, they keep talking, oh, well, we'll put more armor on and we'll give you more dodge and all this. These things are basically going to just improve their resistance to white damage, essentially, for the most part. But if you do that without any real effect being deployed on the anti-magic abilities, then you're just making the class tougher in general. And this is what I mean by fiddling, because they aren't actually accomplishing anything. Like, the argument, and I think it is arguable, is that Brewmasters are too good at mitigation because they can absorb a huge amount of damage into their stagger bar and then double purify and get rid of it. That will stop happening if they make the modest changes to the maximum, things like maximum cap on amount of Iron Skin Brew you can have stocked up and that kind of thing, because you simply won't be able to build up a huge amount and then double purify, because double purifying is what a Brewmaster does instead of hitting a, I don't even know what I'd compare it to. It's like a short-term cooldown which reduces a modest amount of damage, sort of thing.
So like a shield block button.
Yeah, it's not quite like shield block, because shield block's nowhere near as powerful as this technique. It's more sort of, because we've got no hard cooldowns to speak of. What we do instead is that we build up time. We build up spare time that we don't need to Iron Skin in by accumulating time on it, and then we build up a couple of brews back to back, and we'll take a big hit and then double purify as a sort of a reactive measure, except stagger gives you more time to react than you would have otherwise. So it's basically we spend 2 charges of a thing to do what a cooldown would do in its place, and that's what makes Brewmaster powerful right now. They aren't really addressing that problem and then balancing things out when they talk about adding all this extra armor that they want to add and adding this extra dodge that they want to add. Like, those don't do the same job. Like, this amount of damage that I take from white hits, except on very rare bosses, I can't even see in my stagger bar. It just does so little damage compared to what the fight does in total. So yeah, I can't make head or tail of what they think that they are doing, because they appear to be balancing for an iteration of the game that no longer exists, one where white damage is really the lion's share of the damage that you see in a fight, and it's just not. This has got to be some sort of breakdown in communication between the team who works on the encounter design and the team that works on the class design, because the encounter design team has always, in recent years, used big spikes of magic as your tank buster. Oh, force the tank to use an important button here by using a really big attack. It's never done with white damage. Like, it's very, very, very rare that you see the white damage frenzy anymore. Like, that's something that we saw on Imperator as a tank swap mechanic last expansion. Technically speaking, if you're really, really bad, you can force Gul'dan to do something like that to you, but you'd have to do the fight dramatically wrong to make that happen. Like, the white damage is just not the scary part. Giving us more ability to deal with white damage is not necessary. We've got plenty already. Like,
Yeah.
I thought that they were going to nerf us, and I was worried about that. But now they just seem to be changing things. So I don't know. Maybe they'll just give up and go home. Like, it started to sound like that. Some of the posts is like, we don't really know what we're doing, so we're going to just leave it alone. And that probably would be the wisest course of action right now. But Celestalon's never been able to let go before, so I'd be surprised if that happens. Yeah, I'm pretty unhappy that they keep changing things, especially now. It means I've got to go back to farming legendaries, since I need to get a hold of. I've got the best cooldown legendary. I have the best in slot legendary and the second best in slot legendary, but that means that I was missing the braces, which were the next one in line. They're the third best in slot when you're not counting the one which works on the cooldowns. It basically gives you an extra cooldown because they disempowered Zen meditation when the expansion came out to the point where it basically doesn't do anything anymore. Or rather, you can't use it, because what good is a damage cooldown which stops working if you move, take an action, or get hit? I don't know what they were thinking, but yeah. But there's a legendary that I have that you can equip if you need that extra cooldown, which allows you to move and take actions and get hit, and it won't immediately end it. But yeah, so now I need to go and farm up this extra legendary, because it sounds like they're going to turn the chest piece into a extremely bad DPS legendary instead of the best in slot mitigation legendary that it previously was, which doesn't make me very happy. But yeah, I can't have everything I want, I guess. What else did I do this week? I recorded the anime review show after a great deal of fussing about. I watched 26 shows and was incredibly exhausted. But I did the review show, and the short version is what a crappy season it is.
This seems like the most mediocre season in a long time. Like, last season was pretty bad, but this is just mediocre the whole way through.
Mediocre would be an improvement, I think, because it's like normally you've got a, let's say that quality of shows in a given season is a bell curve, right? And you tend to have quality clustering near the middle, and there might be a couple of shows that are good and a couple of shows that are bad.
Okay.
That's what you'd normally expect, right? There's a standard distribution of things which exist on a spectrum. Like the height of a population is like that, for instance, right? You've got most people are average, and there are a few tall people and a few short people. In this season, the curve is skewed way towards the bad side. That doesn't mean that there are no good titles, but there are less average ones in favour of having more terrible ones.
Just pick the whole bell curve up and move it a couple digits to the left?
Yeah, to some extent, yeah. Everything has been displaced over in that direction. But also the lower tail is fatter in general, I think, than the upper tail. Like, if I try and think about it numerically, which is not very wise when you're talking about quality of a subjective piece of entertainment, but I am inclined to feel that there is straight up more there's straight up more bad stuff than good stuff this time, which is sad. But yeah, there's also a lot of weird stuff. Like, there's this show which is straight out of the mid 2000s. Like, even the opening and closing song are just like it's like a magical girlfriend harem anime from the 2000s. It's
so
exactly like if it had been the next one on after the shows at that time, it would have fit right in. It looks exactly like them.
What was airing around mid 2000s? Haruhi, Code Geass. What else? Stuff like that.
Well, the thing is that what I'm talking about is a particular genre, and in that genre, everything was the same.
Oh, I see.
Because I'm talking specifically about that magical girlfriend genre.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand for a second. It took a while.
Because those shows were in a boom right then, right? There were lots and lots of them, and they were all
I
very,
think
very
so.
similar. And that boom died off. It was sort of like the Moe boom, if you remember
Yeah.
that, around sort of peaked around K-On!
Yeah, the Moe boom, and now we're in the incest boom.
I was hoping that that was going to die away, but this season has seemed to make sure that
It's
that's
the it's a
that's not
thing,
going to
dog.
happen. Why is it a thing? Why?
I don't know. I don't know. It's icky, but it's a thing.
That's bad for the gene pool.
Nope. It's a thing.
Now,
Not the kind of boom we wanted.
while we're on that topic, while we're on that topic,
I'm scared.
I did watch that show. The one by the guy who wrote Oremo. Um,
Oh. Oh, no, actually, hang on. I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure.
Eromanga Sensei, it's called.
Oh,
That's
hang on. I gotta check this because I'm not actually sure.
well, anyway. It's a show airing this season based on the light novel, and the guy who wrote the light novel for it is the guy who wrote the light novel Oremo, which is basically the
Oh,
archetypal little sister romance
yeah.
light novel.
He actually got with her at the end, kind of thing. Is that the one where he actually got with her at the end?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I think I'm on track now.
So I watched that, and it's blatantly a little sister fetishist show. There is the positive aspect that they are not blood related this time, which is something, even if it's more of an excuse. But the thing that really frustrated me about that show is that he writes tacky anime sitcom well, like it's funny and entertaining. Like
Oh, so you feel dirty for watching it?
the characters that are meant to be
Because it's
funny
funny?
are funny. Characters that are meant to be cute are cute. Characters that are meant to be cringy are cringy. Like he's very good at writing. He's very good at his characterization. Even though I mean, if we accept the fact that we're just working with tropes here, that these are archetypal characters. They're not especially deep in any particular way. But given the material that he's working with, he's good at his job. It just so happens he's got this thing that he always jams
Gotta,
in there.
maybe he had a little sister that was really, really cute and he couldn't marry her.
I hope not, because
I don't know.
I would rather it just be something that he finds sort of a curiosity, and that's why he keeps writing it, as opposed to, oh my goodness, this person has issues. But I mean, clearly he must have. But yeah, it sort of annoys me because it would be a really great show if that was not the point.
Yeah.
But it
I
is.
don't understand this fad. I don't get it. I was told repeatedly in high school that I have a hot sister, and I cannot see it.
We're not
I,
supposed
I'm,
to. The Westermark effect prevents you from doing so.
yeah. So I don't get that.
You don't
I
even need
don't
to
get
be.
the little sister thing.
You don't even need to be related to them for that effect to come into play. Like it's fairly well documented at this point. Like I have my own theories about why it is, which is basically to do with the decomposition of the family since the '60s, and generally the tendency for people to treat family and relationships in a slipshod fashion. So there's this sort of increasing impulse to find a relationship with some sort of surefire attribute which prevents it from ever being broken, and that's when that you distort that, then you get this fad. But that's my theorizing on the topic. I don't have a sister at all, so I don't have anything to compare that feeling of, oh well, that's just wrong with, because I don't have a sister, so I don't know what it's like. But yeah, I have my own opinions on why this fad might have emerged. I did not expect that it would be so popular at
That
all.
it would be
I
going
thought that it would be
four plus seasons.
I thought that it would be sort of like a cringy little niche thing, but no, it's like in the mainstream, and the characters from Oreimo have gotten reused in lots of promotional material by
And
totally unrelated industries and government services and that kind of thing as sort of
and
mascot
the
characters.
Yeah, and the theme itself has creeped its way into really big stories like SAO, where the little sister is there in season 2,
Well, I
or
mean,
the second half of season 1.
to give the devil its due, they handle it in a, if not a tasteful way, at least a realistic way. Like, the immediate reaction to all involved is, oh well, this is doomed. There's no point in dwelling on it. I mean,
Yeah.
they play it for laughs after the fact, but it's a major sort of conflict. It's not treated as a fetish. It's treated as a conflict, which is at least something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't
I was more
understand.
pointing out the fact that it's there at all. It just got into something really popular.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how rare it is, or whether we're just noticing it more. There are lots of sort of data correlative phenomena in the human brain which cause you to start to notice things like that. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, that's one of the shows that frustrated me this season, Eromanga Sensei, because it could be good if it would just stop being about incest. And then it might be good. I mean, it doesn't seem fair in a show that in a season that's so bereft of really good quality content that they would do that. Why? Just don't. Please don't.
I don't know.
But
Don't get it.
But yeah, there's a few shows that I'm enjoying. I'm watching quite a few shows that are below the bar that I would normally accept because of the shortage of good quality stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some that I really enjoy. Like I'm really enjoying Recreators for the simple fact that for the time being, while it is a show that is quite dark and has a lot of, it's essentially a deconstruction. It's a light novel deconstruction, but it's dark without being too dark, and it's been directed.
It's dark without the edgy.
It's certainly got some edgy things in there, but it knows how to have fun. So
Okay.
it's sort of like, well, it's being directed by the guy that directed Fate Zero, and it seems to me he's used the show as an excuse to make Fate Zero again without all of the doom and gloom.
That's fine.
So-
He made a beautiful product before. I'll be checking it out at the halfway point.
So what you have is this urban setting war between 8 characters, which all have their own motivations and are all fish out of water who don't really understand modern society.
Let's see.
To varying extents. Some of them adapt better than others because they're from places that are very, very much like the modern world, and some of them are from places that are very, very much unlike the modern world. And they all have their archetypes as well. Like they fall into almost, class card archetypes such as you would see in Fate. So it really feels like they've made another Fate story. Like if they had labelled this Fate and just had, oh well, all of the characters are from fiction this time, instead of just having one character from fiction like they did in Fate Stay Night.
I'd say call it Fate Apocrypha, but I think they already used that one. I think that one's the name of something.
That's coming out in summer. Winter
Yeah, something like that.
The Fate Apocrypha animation.
Yeah.
But that's Fate Apocrypha uses predominantly historical figures as well.
Yeah. I was just saying it would fit a good name for the show for Recreators.
But yeah, it very much feels like a Fate show, and they do a lot of deconstructy things, like light deconstructions, as opposed to like a heavy dedicated deconstruction like Madoka, where they're focusing on the legitimate consequences of giving magical girls what they ask for. Like that's that sort of heavy focused deconstruction. This is sort of light deconstruction. So the magical girl here is confronted with what it's like to put a magical girl in the real world. And so she starts a fight in an urban area because of a disagreement, and then realizes that there is such a thing as bloodshed because nobody ever bled before, and there's collateral damage and people in the street are getting hurt. And when you beat the living tar out of somebody, that doesn't automatically make them your friend afterwards. Things like that. And she breaks down in tears because all of the tropes that her world runs on don't exist anymore. And she can't make head or tails of it.
I see. It sounds interesting. I'm looking forward to doing this one at when it hits the halfway point. I'll do one watch, and then I'll wait for it to finish again and probably watch it again once it's at the end. I don't really want to do this one weekly. I don't think.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea not to do it weekly if you're not into that. And like I don't have the sort of issues with doing things weekly that you do, so I'm happy to do it. But it's clearly done by the guy who did Fate Zero, because it likes to info dump you at times.
Yeah.
Like a large chunk of the most recent episode that I watched, which I don't think is the latest one since I'm a little bit behind, involved, like, they tracked down, like, the main fictional character is sort of like a lady knight who pilots a mecha of some kind in her homeworld. She doesn't have the mecha with her though. She doesn't have very much ability without it. But they track down the author and illustrator for the light novel and basically spend the episode doing experiments to see if there's a way to change her attributes while she's in the real world. But so they have lots of sort of experimental stuff like that. Things that they're basically, all of the characters are theorizing about what's going on, who's responsible, how should they handle the situation, that kind of thing. And so they often have big set piece fights, and then everybody will sit down and talk for an episode. So it's very Fate Zero in that way.
The best episode in Fate Zero is the Banquet of Kings. So that was a sit down and talky episode for the most part until big stuff happened at the end of it.
Yeah. So it strikes me as sort of a light-hearted Fate story. Maybe not quite Prisma Ilia lighthearted, or at least not early Prisma Ilia lighthearted, since Prisma Ilia has gone darker than the darkest dark times infinity at this point.
I need to get around to that show.
Yeah, the storyline's really engaging at this point. Like it's still kind of pulpy Fate storyline, but they've come up with a new conceit as basically an excuse to have like this was like you know how the claim to power that Gilgamesh has is that he has the originals on which all of the legends for noble phantasms are based.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this one involves the sort of what speculatively might have been the original of the Holy Grail.
Oh, I see.
At least that's the current
How does
theory.
that work?
Well, I mean, it would be spoilers for me to tell you.
Okay. Oh, that was a rhetorical question, but I had to think about that. Okay. I need to get around to watch it. It's been on the to watch list forever, and it keeps getting pushed back because of like Persona coming out, and that's all my brain can come up with right this second. So,
well, it does take a big amount of mental space.
Yeah,
But,
I've been stuck on loop for a while.
But yeah, I've enjoyed that show in particular. There are a couple of others that are okay. There are a few school club ones that are all right, like the one about starting the Kabuki Club, because they're doing that thing again, how they're trying to revitalize Japanese heritage art by making an anime about it, like they did with the Rakugo one, and they did with the Hana Yamata one, and things like that. And it's not actually a bad show for an after school club one. There are a few that are sort of like watchable, but the number of them that are really good is really, really sparse. There are a couple of sort of okay, very orthodox sort of fantasy adventure road trip type ones. Like Grand Blue Fantasy is effectively watching somebody play a JRPG. Like it is a JRPG, except you don't have to play it; it just plays out in front of you. Everything about it is pure JRPG.
I see. So you just watch their numbers go up the whole time?
Well, no, that's not what I mean. I mean, like, all of the characters are JRPG characters. Like, there's a shot in particular in the ending sequence, like the closing song, and which has the camera pans across all of the characters lined up, and this is blatantly a JRPG party. Like they've got one of each sort of thing.
So like Tales of Zillia, how it has the little caster girl and the butler and the big clearly shooter guy.
Yeah.
With the gun.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
It's kind of funny like that. It's very, very JRPG, and it's Nobuo Uematsu did the score. So
he sounds familiar.
He does.
I should know him.
He does most of the Final Fantasy scores.
Okay.
So yeah, and that one's like it's totally nothing fancy, but it's very solid. Like it does all of the classics sort of thing. Even they summon Bahamut at one point, and it looks just like the classic Final Fantasy Bahamut.
Oh,
like, exactly like it. Folded arms and everything.
I see. Oh.
But yeah, it's there's nothing much to get really excited about. Like the only one that I'm like, oh man, that show's really exciting. It's really great. I can't wait to watch it this week. Is Recreators. The other ones are all pretty, nah. Even the comedies are not. They're not really quite as laugh out loud as some of the previous ones. Like there's nothing on the level of Konosuba at all. Nothing even like that. In terms of being like uproariously funny.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get something topping that for a while in comedy.
Which makes me sad, since the comedies are what I really wait for. Like I really love comedies, but and my bar for comedy is not very high. I'll laugh at pretty much anything, but the ones this season, like, they make you smile, they don't make you laugh.
We're not going to get Persona 4 the animation again, which is the best comedy.
Charlie really sells that one.
Yeah.
Like, but the archetypal scene, which represents Persona 4 the animation comedy to me, is him going off the cliff at the camp.
Yeah.
And his face is just completely stone-faced.
That's the show. I like to think of the one in the Love Hotel where he's got Chie and Yukiko hanging off of him, and he's just looking at the camera like, yep, this is a thing that happens. Before he throws the dart and lands on number 2 after calling it with his shirt flying open. Because Charlie.
It was a unique comedy, that one.
It was very good. A lot of people, including myself, didn't like it at first because we were looking at it to be an adaptation of Persona that was really faithful and good. And then we're like, this is actually hilarious.
Well, I'm pretty sure that they were looking at it like that as well. Like, in my opinion, is that there is a very clear shift in directorial direction
around episode 7.
Yeah, from the early stages of the series, where I think that they tried to play it straight and then they realised it was boring and then decided to have fun.
Yeah. And I'm glad they did, because it was really funny. I've been rewatching parts of it because I finished Persona 5 and I'm stuck in a Persona loop. So it'll break eventually, I hope.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll call my week there, since I prattled on for great deal of time and I actually want to check that this file is saving.
Okay. So, I guess we'll jump into my week. Well, it's been an hour. You want to take a break?
Sure, if you like.
Sure, since we're on the hour. We'll be right back with some music, folks. Well, I think we might have music. We'll see. We're not sure.
I'm not clever enough to edit it together. Like, if I had my way, we wouldn't have breaks, because that just makes me more work.
Okay. Well, I have to go get water. I'm going to lose my voice.
Right.
So, we'll be right back. And we're back. Oh, I heard myself for a second there. But that's okay. So, I think Vaul said he was done with his week.
Yep.
At the very end.
I netted on an awful long time, and I haven't really done anything particularly interesting other than sit around getting fat watching anime. I'm sort of trying to relish it while it lasts, because, you know, once I get a job, I won't be able to do that anymore.
Yeah, you're going to have to build your life around creating times to take breaks like I do. It's a hassle. But I don't know another way to do it. I've got to build my entire life around, something's coming out that I want to play, something's coming out that I want to watch. I got to build, my week around working enough so I have time to do it. It's a nightmare. So, speaking of that, work's been absolutely terrible this week. Somebody came to me with a broken external hard drive that it looks like they played volleyball with it. And I had to get that thing somehow connected to a computer being read again because it had important business files on it. and by some miracle, I got it to read again.
Just IT guy things.
Yes. It's like,
Did you ask what they did?
I did, and they didn't know.
What do you mean they didn't know?
I don't know. That's the dumb thing.
That sounds like a lie.
It sounds like a lie to me. It sounds like they dropped the dumb thing all the way down the stairs because the lid was taken off, and it was thankfully it was not a disc-based flash or external. It was a flash-based external, and it had two motherboards and an insulator between them, and that plugged into a something on the front that connected it to its USB port, so you could plug it into your computer. And they had cut that thing out, and all those motherboards, that insulator is all supposed to be held together by screws. Well, the plastic to the top was broken off, so you could see right inside the dumb thing. These things were so loose you could just take them out with your finger, and the screws were completely gone. So, I don't know what they did to it. It looks like somebody went in there and monkeyed with it. Or they had broke it and then dropped it down the stairs and lost the screws. So, work's been a pain in the butt this week. I had to work into today. I just finished around 6 o'clock, and we started the show at around, a little bit later than normal, but around 11 o'clock, just before 11. So, it's been a nightmare. After the show, I'm going to have to lay down because I'm exhausted. What did I do for funsies this week? I continued, yeah, pretty much. I continued punching through Persona. And trying to get the platinum trophy on my second playthrough, and I did it. I got the plat. I finished the second playthrough and got the clear data. Yay!
Great.
Yay! It was not hard. I enjoyed it while I was doing it, but yeah, you don't have to worry at all for your Chivo run as long as you've got your 5 human parameters maxed out. As long as you know how to play Persona, you got plenty of time.
So, did you max the 5 parameters relatively easily in the first playthrough?
They were the hardest thing to get set up for the New Game Plus, but it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't absurd. I did a lot of things very inefficiently with them, so I imagine it'll go much faster to somebody that isn't a dum-dum.
Yeah, honestly, that sort of thing, I've got no compunction about looking it up because historically, I've always felt like it was kind of cheap. Like, when you're building a given stat, there are just things that you can do that are inefficient that they give you the opportunity to do while being inefficient, and there's no reason to be inefficient. If you just picked something else, it would be better. And I don't really like that because I feel like those are deliberately designed to trap you, but you have got no way of knowing that you're being trapped.
Yeah, like say you want to raise Charm, for instance, which is one of the harder ones to slink with Makoto. You need full Charm, and because that was my canon waifu in playthrough 1, I had to max my Charm as fast as possible. So your options are go to the cafe like before and study. This is exactly the same as P4, and you order a drink, and depending on the drink, you max 1 point in that stat and a couple points in knowledge. So that's your least efficient option. Your most efficient option as far as just stat raising, well, not even, it's the second most efficient, is going to the bathhouse on medicinal bath night, which I think is Thursday, and you get 3 charm points if you go to the bathhouse on a Thursday and take a bath. The most effective way, if I knew these confidants at the time, or social links, same thing, at the time gave charm, I would have maxed them because they give 3 points of charm every time you get a rank with them, and that is the sun and the devil.
I see.
So you just get a free 3 points. Just for every time you have a thing with them and you rank up. Actually, I think it's whenever you hang out with them too. So they're really efficient. But yeah, I wasn't doing that. I was taking baths because I didn't know they were available yet. Because I was doing it completely blind.
Yeah, I that sort of thing is just I don't feel like doing it blind because I feel like I'm being tricked. I don't feel like, oh well, this is a challenge to overcome. No, I just feel like I'm being cheated somehow. Like, oh well, there are all these things that would be good to do, but we'll just let you keep doing the thing that is not good to do, and we won't tell you that it's not good.
Yeah, I think of it that harshly. I like bumbling around for these types of games, so it was fun. But yeah, you'll have plenty of time. Where's the list of everything I managed to do with still 30 days of active Gucci time left over that I could have hung out with people? Let's see. I think I put it in video games. Okay. Read all the books, played all the video games, maxed all the social links, completed all the side quests, did the home run minigame, got all the ultimate weapons and guns, completed the compendium, beat the secret boss, and wasted way too many days trying to catch the Guardian with the fishing game. And I still had a month left over of time.
The fish is a skill based game, or will you just have to roll the dice periodically?
You can make the stupid thing appear and throw your thing close to it. As soon as you read the book that gives you the ability to fish with skills, like you start off the first day you fish, you only have small bait and you catch terrible fish, and then you go back and you buy medium fish, and then because you fished once, you go to second unlocked mini town area and you buy a book that's like the secret art of fishing or whatever. I forget what it's called. And you read that, and the book will give you more controls that you can use to catch fish easier. And you work your way up until you can get 7 of the premium bait. And on the 7th one, the Guardian will spawn. So you can save the day before you're going to do it. And you can count up until you have enough to buy the 7 of the premium bait. So it just takes a while. And if you're bad at the fishing game, then, yeah, you're going to be there a few extra days. But it's not that big a deal.
What do you get out of it?
You can get like rewards like armor and stuff, but it's not great. It's okay. So, I mean, the armor you'll get from ordering off the shady website is way better at the end of the game. So it's not worth fishing 20 days to get the soul vest or whatever. And you just get the Chivo. So it's just if you're going for platy. But yeah, I did not like that game. I was terrible at fishing and actual reeling in of the fish. I'm not a reeling game person, and I have to mash for a while and then stop mashing, and then mash for a while and stop mashing. I'm like, oh goodness, no, I'm not good at that. I finally got it, but
it could be worse. They could have asked you to waggle the controller.
I suppose that's true. But yeah, they don't ask you to do that, thankfully. But yeah, the only thing I was really disappointed in is on hard mode, the secret boss was not very hard. I actually did it solo with my protag, and I did this because it's easier than taking your party. Because if they get an extra turn, they Dekunda Dekaja. So they take away all your buffs and all the debuffs. So if you just go in with protag with personas that don't have any weaknesses, you can only be crit down. So you can actually, put Heat Riser on yourself and put Debilitate on the boss. So...
Right, so the buff stripping is only triggered by having multiple characters, is it?
It's only triggered by the secret boss landing a weakness and getting another turn.
Oh, I see. And of course, you can't get rid of the weaknesses of your
yeah, they all stay with one. Once you max their social link and their persona becomes their ultimate persona, they get dodge element. So they have like over 50% chance to dodge something of that element. But if they get hit, you're put so many turns behind that you're going to get out of sync with everything. It's just not worth it. And most of the time, you're just going to be buffing your main character with them anyway and counteracting the buffs getting stripped. So it's better just to go in with protag and just do some smart persona fusing and get enough null skills and inherit skills and just have him solo it. And the way I did it was, I think I used Odin and Yoshitsune. And I would just pull Odin out to reflect some of the things, because their pattern's really simple. You can figure it out pretty easy. Until phase 4, where the secret boss just does whatever it wants. It doesn't have a pattern at that point. It just, for the last phase, it throws the pattern out the window. And it can do literally whatever it wants. But yeah, just go Odin, charge, power charge, and then Hasutobe hits 8 times all enemies. And it does light damage and physical damage. And that is the best way to do this fight. Because there is a gimmick in the fight that I don't want to spoil. Like all the other ones, it has a gimmick.
I never actually did the other ones because, I didn't want to crawl all the way to the bottom of Monad or whatever.
Yeah, Elizabeth is probably the second hardest SMT boss behind the Demi-Fiend in, whatchamacallit? I forget what game he was in. One I didn't play, but I saw the boss fight and was like, nope, nope. But Elizabeth is one of probably the second hardest boss, just because she takes a lot of planning and pre-work fusing to get to. But yeah, no, this boss overall was very easy, but its gimmick is if you don't kill it a certain way, it reses, so you lose. You got to do the whole thing over again. It's got a time limit like the other bosses, and yeah, it's interesting. But I want to go back and do it on Maniac, which is the super duper DLC difficulty that you get for free. And so I'm looking forward to doing that at some point, but I'm a little persona'd out after I got the Platy, so I don't think I'm going to go try it on Maniac yet.
So there's not even a Chivo for doing it on Maniac?
No. I did it on hard, and it didn't matter. I could have done it on safety mode, and it would have given it to me. So you can be bad at Persona and still get the Platinum trophy if you just put enough time in. I mean, you can be really bad. So yeah.
I'm surprised that there isn't more complaint about that then, because even though Persona is sort of like the easiest sub-franchise of the franchise, people was very snobby about it being challenging, which is strange considering how Persona 4 was a walk in the park. I mean, sure, maybe it wasn't Final Fantasy walk in the park, but it was a walk in the park.
Yeah, as long as you knew the systems, you could sneeze on it and it would fall over. So yeah, after Persona 4, we haven't really heard about it too much. I guess they kind of blew themselves out on Golden because Golden came with an easier difficulty as well.
I see. But I mean, I guess I don't really know how hard Persona 3 was because I only played FES. So the only world I ever lived in was one where you would constantly have your characters, betray you.
Marin Karn.
I got so tired of that. So very tired of that.
Oh, Monsieur, I need healing. Marin Karn.
I wish there was a way to make her forget that ability.
Oh, could you? No, you couldn't in that game. That's right. Oh dear. But yeah. Let's see. So the other thing this week, I did not want to purchase Yooka-Laylee at $40, and I did not. But one of my friends had the game, and he had platinumed it in about 30 hours when it came out, and he gave me his physical copy. I didn't even know there was a physical copy for this game. So he gave me his PS4 copy to play for a couple weeks, and I've been poking at that. And I went into this game ready to say, okay, because there was, political drama about it, people are probably exaggerating about the gameplay and the camera and stuff. Nope.
That bad, huh?
Not at all. It's pretty bad. It's so close to being a good game. It's so close, but just so many little things pile up. Like, the levels are big when you first unlock them, and then you have to expand them and make them bigger by spending pages. So you make them Xbox huge, as Abo says. So these levels are just too big. Somebody need to take a chainsaw to them and cut them in half. Every single one of them. It should not be 5 super huge Xbox huge worlds. It should be 10 normal size worlds. The camera is just a little too slick and gets hung up on geometry. There is no zoom in or zoom out button, so you're stuck with whatever it decides to zoom at, and it gets hung up on trees and buildings and stuff, and it just feels wrong. Something about that camera doesn't feel right. So a lot of your moves, especially like the new Talon Trot, where you would walk as Kazooie in the last game, where you roll on the chameleon in this game and the bat stands on top of him, that is way too slippery, and it needs more grip on it to be able to do some of the challenges they want you to do reliably, because it's a total luck game whether or not you'll keep your momentum or not at the top of the hill. So that's a bit of a problem. And the Rextaros mini games can all just go die.
I don't know what you're referring to. Like, you've been complaining about these mini games to me since you started playing the thing, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
There's this character called Rextaros 64, and he has a big giant arcade machine that's way bigger than you are, and he'll be sitting on top of it, and you take him a coin that you collect in the level. There's only one in the level. You take him a play coin, he'll let you play a mini game. And these mini adapted from the normal mini games. They use special controls, and they're usually retro style. Like the first one was, it was like a drag derby type of game, but he said it was based on Mario Kart. But yeah, it's a isometric racer, top down, race around the whole track, and this thing drove me up the wall. Not because it was hard. It was actually really easy. I beat it in 4 attempts, but every time I lost, it was because something messed up with the geometry of the level, or the controls were just too slippery. Like, there's a bridge where you're just supposed to drive over it, and I checked with Abo to be sure this is right, and yeah, you just have to drive over that bridge. You don't have to press X or anything. And I would keep getting caught on the lip of the top of the bridge, and you have to get 5 laps around, so I have to hit this bridge 5 times, and I kept getting caught on it, just because I was too far up. And I could do stuff like run around the inside of the track, but eventually I'd hit the water, and I'd have to go all the way back and run over the bridge again and lose too much time, because you gotta finish the 5 laps in 2.5 minutes to get the second page. You get a full 5 minutes to get the first one. That's basically a gimme. But you do it again to beat his high score. You gotta get to the finish line in 2.5 minutes. Yeah, and that's just really hard. They give you a shoot button in that mini game, and it doesn't work.
Really doesn't work.
There are enemies placed on the map. This is an isometric map, and you're racing around it. You're racing counterclockwise at that, just to make it even more confusing. And there's little bee enemies that hover up and down. That when they're up, you can go under them. When they're down, you have to wait for them or shoot them. Always wait for these. They give you a gun to deal with them, but the problem is when you kill the bee, its hitbox stays for about a full second before it goes poof. And even then, when it dies, yeah, its hitbox is the explosion of the poof, so it gets even bigger.
So it takes longer to kill it than it does to just wait for it.
Yeah, just wait for the thing to start rising up, and you can go underneath it. It's so many little things with this game. It's driving me nuts, man. I wanted it to be good. I wanted this video game to be good. But no, it's just not. It's not good. And they do not have a reset camera position button that's consistent. If they had that, most of the camera issues would be taken care of. But they just don't have that. So, I mean, there's plenty of buttons on that controller they could use. They put it on L2 or something, or L1. We don't need to crouch with that. Move crouch somewhere else. We don't use it that much. But yeah, my left kidney for a reset camera position button that's not left stick that doesn't work. And that doesn't count the bug I found in the game. I found my own personal bug. I felt bad because I actually wanted to play with toggles on. I usually play with toggles on in platformers, like toggle roll, toggle crouch and stuff. If you toggle crouch, it's just broken. It doesn't work. You'll get stuck in the crouch animation, and you can sit there and mash that button to turn it off, and it'll keep going back into crouch.
You sure it doesn't have a separate uncrouch button?
I'm positive. So, yeah, it's quite annoying. So don't turn that option on. But yeah, I wanted to like this game. I assumed people were being a little overly harsh on it because of the JonTron incident, but no, this game, it has problems. It's got jank. Also, as Abo put it has some jank in it. And yeah, bad camera, slippery controls. It's all jank stuff like that. I don't know if I'll finish it. I might give it back to the guy and say I didn't finish it. Because I don't like it very much. Especially because the worlds are just too big. I forget where stuff is. My sense of direction is better than Vaul's, but it's not that great. These things are super huge. And I gotta remember 5 of them? Yeah, right. So, I'm disappointed. But yeah, that's my week, I think. Yeah.
Alright. I didn't check the email inbox, did you?
I did right before the show and didn't see anything.
Right, so I guess we'll get on with some news then.
Yes. Do we want to start with the thing you seem to love so much? Your favorite with the FGC stuff?
Go ahead then.
Okay. So, carrying on from talking about new video games that are terrible. Or at least look terrible. So we got a new Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite trailer, and we finally got some gameplay announcements of how the mechanics of the game are going to work. So the comeback mechanic, I'll tell you what the trailer had first. So the trailer it first showed us that the big bad is going to be Sigma from Mega Man X in his Mega Man X1 form that you fight him before the big dragon form with the lightsaber, and Ultron from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And they do the fusion dance, and they want to kill all organic life.
It's so stupid and cringy. Like, and it comes off, I think it comes off sounding really bromantic too.
A little bit. The trailer's really wonky too. You should. Oh dear.
It's the most cringy thing ever. Like, it's made by somebody, like, it has the feel of a very, very crude fan production.
Yeah, I could see that. It feels like something I would watch on YouTube. Like, watch somebody put on YouTube after they made it.
It's like, no wonder people suspected that the stuff might be fake when it was first coming out.
Yeah. So we have, who was revealed? We might have talked about some of these before, but Strider, Chun-Li, Raccoon, Thor, Hawkeye, and the Hawkeye is from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It is not the Hawkeye from the Ultimate Marvel that we knew. Chris Redfield is back in his Resident Evil 5 outfit.
That was particularly silly in the trailers. Like, all of these superpowered people doing superpowered things, and he fires a pistol.
And Chris. Don't worry, I got this.
Like, everything about that trailer was absurd in the wrong way.
Yeah. Oh, it was. And there's still they moved up from the iOS. They based these models when they started with these models, they based them on an iOS game that they had made. And you can tell because they've been slowly building them up and they still don't look very good. So, but I think we're past PS2 graphics at this point.
I don't know if I'm willing to give it that, because you can do a lot with rudimentary graphics if you have style. They don't. The style is awful.
The biggest thing is I don't feel any pop on the characters. Like, on the screen, they feel like they're kind of muted with the backgrounds and the stages. They don't really pop out like they do in other fighting games.
Because there's no shading or lighting to speak of.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right. So yeah. Ooh, dear. My throat backed it up for a second. It's okay now. Okay. So yeah, the FGC is actually looking forward to this game a lot, and I'm kind of excited for it too, because the mechanical stuff does sound pretty fun to play with. And they've replaced the terrible X Factor from Ultimate Marvel with the Infinity Stones. As you take damage, or as you use the Infinity Stone, you can increase the meter as well for it. You can use supers on these things, and like the Space Gem is the one that, like, there's one that boosts power and one that boosts speed and all that fun stuff. But the cool one was the Space Gem. It puts the opponent in a box that they can't move out of. So they just get stuck. And you can beat on them all you want. But they can't move outside this little square box. And it's not very big at all. And it lasts for quite a while. So stuff like that makes me interested to play it. A lot of their wall bounce and ground bounce stuff looks really good. I'm not going to elaborate on that because I'm sure that'll bore most people.
As far as I'm concerned, if it doesn't look badass, there's just no point. And it doesn't. Yeah. It looks awful. It is, the worst looking fighting game since the last King of Fighters.
Injustice. Yeah, it doesn't look very pretty. And they have straight ripped the auto combo from Persona 4 Arena. Just the whole system exactly as it is.
I can't say I'm surprised about that, because it basically is a way of them getting away without having to do anything for new players. If they, we'll just crib this system that plays 4 people. Like, I don't expect to see them putting a particularly elaborate tutorial system in or anything like that. I think they just say, the auto combo system is in there, we don't need to think about it anymore. Because it's Capcom, and they do everything via the lowest common denominator.
Yeah, this isn't ArcSys, so Arc System Works, rather. I keep forgetting they're 2 different companies. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I I what I Okay, so in Persona 4 Arena, the auto combo was actually used by professionals because the third hit of it would give you more meter. It would give you bonus meter if you could land it. So there was a bit of decision making once you got your combos down. Do I need more meter? Do I go for the auto combo and do less damage, or do I do a more optimized combo? So I don't even think they'll take it that far. I think they'll just crib the, hey, look, you mash A and you get a combo that ends in a hyper. Ugh, okay. So I wanted to mention that mechanic, but everything else, I don't know. I think the mechanics look good. I wish if they could do something with the lighting, I think it would help a lot.
I suppose the pertinent question though is, will the community adopt this over MVC3?
We won't know the answer to that until it comes out, unfortunately. But it's looking good. It's looking like the community will at least change up. And honestly, I'd watch anything other than MVC3 right now. I've been watching it for just too long.
That game must be solved by now, surely.
It is completely busted. Every character's infinite has been found. Yeah, like they broke the game and then some. The best teams are out, and Virgil is OP still. So yeah, I hope we get Dante. That's all I really want. That'll sell the game to me. If we get real Dante, I'm sold. I'm done.
It's going to be Dino. You know it.
No, it's not. They fired Dino. Ruben said so. He's not trolling us. So this could be fun. All right.
They
That's
need
all I
to.
really
They
got
need to
on that.
stick a. They need to put a sticker on the box saying featuring Dante from Devil May Cry.
There's a featuring something from something joke going around for Persona 5, so be careful of stuff like that. It will spoil you.
No. But
Yeah.
I just think it would be funny. Like, people would buy it purely for meme value at that point.
Yeah, they would. Oh dear. So that's all I have for that topic. We got a few more that we both dug up some stuff. Do you want to take the next one?
I can't fiddle around with that window, so you'll have to pick the topics.
Okay. Funcom insider trading things. That's the top one on your list.
Right.
We'll go with that one.
So this is a story from a way back, which has finally reached its conclusion. Basically, Secret World had a tumultuous development, let's say, and on release it did very, very, very poorly, and there was a lot of blame passed around for this. The thing which got the lore interested in the Funcom execs, there are a number of them, I'm not quite sure which ones, but the Funcom execs at the time was that Secret World had been in development a long time, it launched poorly, let's say, but
we didn't help that either.
This was followed immediately, like on release day, their top guy resigned and sold off all of his shares, or something like that.
Yeah, that's what happened.
And so this is basically got attracted the attention of the authorities, and eventually they got done for insider trading.
Yeah, and there was two other people involved with him. They were also in the company. They were higher ups in there.
The higher ups in this company, basically, they saw which way the wind was blowing, but let it pay out. They let it keep going until the optimal time for them to all of a sudden sell up shop and quit to make maximum profit. So they call this the pump and dump strategy. Basically, you let everything get to its most apparent valuable point, and then where just before everything goes pear-shaped, you sell up, knowing that it's about to go pear-shaped.
Yeah, this is a thing you often try to take advantage of if you're playing the stock market as a normal consumer. This is not something you do with your own company.
Yeah, if you're actually, in charge, well, then this is against the law. So,
So that is the issue.
This has dragged on for a long time, but they've finally been sentenced, and I think one of them got off, but 3 of them have gotten varying jail terms and reasonably hefty fines for their trouble. So, and they're never going to work in this business again, so to speak. So that's finally been resolved. In case anybody's concerned, they now basically have no connection with Funcom whatsoever, so it's not going to affect the relaunch of Secret World that's coming out or any of that stuff, or the new Conan game.
Yeah. I feel bad for Secret World because it had a really we played a really bad build in the beta, and we didn't help that game do well at all on its launch.
No,
we were quite harsh on it.
I put a sizable amount of money into it in the end. Like, I subscribed and played for a while, because it was once they got their business straightened out and they knew what they were doing, once they had solved some of the really core problems, there was the bones of a really solid game in there. And I particularly liked the small group content was very good, very challenging, and a lot of ways to strategize that are not available to you in most MMOs. Like, the idea of having a massive number of skills to create builds out of, and then customizing that build in order to take on a particular challenge is something that you only have available to you in a handful of MMOs these days. I mean, if you look at something like WoW, they're increasingly homogenizing everything to the point where everything is basically a solved game, and you've always got all of the tools required to do everything equipped all the time.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been able to two-man Polaris and stuff if we didn't have enough options available to us like we did.
Yeah, so, I mean, that game is good. It's going through a sort of a relaunch of some sort right now. I'm sort of a bit confused about what it is that they're actually doing, because it's not a new game. It's very old, but they're doing a relaunch, which seems kind of odd. But, yeah, well, I hope it goes well for them. I mean, it sounds like what they're mainly doing is they're dressing up the combat a bit, effectively, making it run a little bit less janky and generally feel a bit more like it's not tacked on. But yeah, I hope that goes well, and I hope that they don't get rid of the parts that were good about it, which is always my fear when they relaunch a game that is quite complex, is that they'll make it less complex when the only reason anybody was playing it was its complexity to begin with. But yeah, there's still nothing on the market that even approaches the level of engagement that you get out of investigation quests. There just isn't. Nothing has even attempted to do anything like that.
And I don't think there's another product on the market that really can give you consistent, good quality small group content like Secret World does. Although they have nerfed it since we played, so
yeah,
it might be a bit less.
It's been nerfed pretty heavily. It's nowhere near what it once was, and that does make me sad. But that always ends up being the way things go, because, well, I mean, just look at WildStar, right? What happened when they just made things hard in order to be challenging? Like the very first instance, like, well, let's say the Wailing Caverns equivalent in WildStar. Almost no groups that went in there could get through it because it was too hard.
Yeah, you needed a full guild to do it, and the damage was super tight, and the last boss was a pain in the butt.
Oh, that was different. That was the content that you were talking about. That was a different thing. That wasn't even the first instance. That was one of their special adventure things, which was designed to be easier than the actual dungeons.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, but what we were doing, what we were doing was
dungeon.
supposed to be the casual tier content, and we still took all night to get through it.
Yeah, WildStar was a bit too brutal. I mean, we're not scrubs in the MMO world, but we're not super duper hardcore. We're not MLG Pro Swag. So yeah, they wanted you to be the best that ever was to play WildStar. Oh, dearie me.
I haven't ducked back in there in a while, but it's a game that suffers so terribly from latency. Like, if you don't have a great connection, you're going to have a bad time. So
I haven't booted it back up. I've had no interest in it after it flopped. I've connected the Secret World a couple times. I'm lagging a little bit. There it goes. I've connected to SWTOR a few times, but I haven't gone back to WildStar at all. I've let that account rot.
Yeah, Fern and I were going to try and pick it up again, try it from the other faction, but we eventually didn't get around to it because, look, when they launched it on Steam, we thought, oh, well, this will be a good time to try it out. But as it turns out, everybody else thought the same thing, and the servers imploded like they did on release day.
Yeah, that was one of the messier launches for an MMO that we've seen, but it's not the worst that I've seen, but it was still pretty messy.
Yeah, speaking of things that launched on Steam, Skyforge launched on Steam just recently, and there was a whole bunch of rage about it because they point blank said we're not going to offer account integration at all. And
Oh, really?
yeah, and so that was basically like there's a massive string of comments underneath saying if you had offered account integration I would have come back because I don't like using the my.com launcher because it's a crappy launcher that crashes all the time.
Yeah.
And so people didn't go back. Like it was a terrible mistake. The people were waiting for it to be integrated with Steam, and that's why they were looking forward to it. And then they said, "No, we're not doing that." And yeah, it really hasn't paid off for them. They're
going to need another post that says, "Oh, well, JK law will totally integrate your accounts like right now before the launch window's over. Otherwise, they're not going to get another launch window like this to revitalize the game."
Well, it wasn't doing too badly to begin with. Like this was just a chance for them to build strength on strength because they're doing fairly well given what they are. But it was a real big mistake for them to just blithely say no, we don't actually care about that. We're not doing it. Lots of people quite unhappy about it, and I can't say I blame them because I was looking for that as well. It was the first thing I looked up when I went to see. Oh, it's come out on Steam. Can I integrate my old account and then play through Steam? Nope. Oh well, I guess I won't bother to update it then.
Yep, that was my response as well. Can't integrate account. Okay, not interested. Not paying attention.
It seemed more than anything though. I was surprised. It seemed to me like the obvious.
It seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems this is a thing you should just do. Everybody, even the terrible little companies like. That are like those terrible Japan grinder games that we play occasionally. Those have account integration, like Elsword and stuff. So if they can have integration, there's no reason that Starbound. No, that's wrong. I forgot the name of the game. Skyforge. Yeah, there's no reason Skyforge shouldn't. I can't believe I forgot the name of the game.
I like the game. Although it's gotten very difficult to understand since they scrapped a lot of the old systems. I mean, some of those systems really badly needed to be scrapped because they were way too complicated. But so I'm a little bit lost as to where it's going now. But yeah, I liked the game. I would have probably jumped back into it, but no, they decided to screw the pooch on that one for no reason. Which is the thing that always the reason I presume is too much work.
Oh.
Like that's the sort of thing that I would expect.
Oh goodness.
What? Hello? Hello? Hold on, folks. I'm going to fix this live. Hopefully. This is all Skype's fault. And it's still all Skype's fault. Hello?
Sorry about that. Skype M crash.
Right. So I'm too lazy to clip that out. So everybody has just gotten to hear me try and reconnect on Skype Live. But anyway, where were we? Oh, I was finishing off the Skyforge thing. Yeah. So Skyforge, you had a chance to get me back. You've dropped the ball big time, guys. I mean, if they change their mind, I mean, I'm willing to forgive, but yeah, they need to change their mind.
Yeah. I'm not as big a fan of that game as you and Fern seem to be, but I would have tried it again if it had done account integration.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next topic.
Okay. What I do with the Discord window. Okay. We have you have an Xbox Spencer Zelda Horizon thing that I haven't read.
Man, I told you to read that one specifically, but
oh wait, yeah, I've read this one. Never mind.
I added this to the show topic simply because my jaw dropped at how daft it sounded, and I don't know what delusions it is that are going on in Phil Spencer's mind, but they don't appear to be connected to the things that are happening in the real world.
Yeah, hang on. Keep going.
Right.
if you can. Try to explain the article while I check it to make sure
I'm trying to
I know what I'm doing.
I'm trying to remember what was in it because I can't actually go and look at it right now. But the gist of it is that Phil Spencer's somehow gotten the idea that the sort of the classic big broad story driven adventure game model is over the hill and nobody's interested in it anymore. Specifically naming Horizon Zero Dawn and Zelda Breath of the Wild as examples of games that apparently
are known for their
likes.
narrative. Yeah, nobody likes these games, and these are the games we're picking for their narrative? What?
Well, I don't think it's about... I don't think he's concerned about the specifics of the narrative. I think he's talking about games that are based on having a world in which the entire story takes place in a single package. Because of what he's contrasting it with is the way you interpret that. Like, for starters, he's the Xbox guy, and he's, you know, American, so he probably doesn't know Persona exists. But
shattering sales records everywhere.
Well, the thing is, the thing that the reason my jaw dropped and I was so confused about this is that when you pick the two games as the examples of a genre that you purport to have reached the end of its lifespan, you don't pick two smash hits.
Yeah.
That just seems really strange.
Yeah. He isn't a fan of games with immersive stories, apparently. But I don't understand. This is why I had to reread it again after I read it once. I was like, oh, I haven't read this. Oh, wait, yes, I have. Oh, wait, no, I haven't. Because it just doesn't make any sense. None of this article makes sense with what he's saying. I can't make heads or tails of what Phil Spencer's trying to say. Just look at my X-Bone, Call of Duty, Call of Duty. Is that what he wants us to believe?
I mean, I read over it, and I read over it, and I read over it. And I was trying to work out what model it is that he's suggesting, because what he seems to think is that everybody is into some kind of progressive subscription-based episodic narrative now, and that people don't actually want to buy a game off the shelf and have the whole game.
I got the impression he was just totally against the narrative entirely and was trying to...
No, that's not the impression I got at all. That's not the impression I got at all. The impression that I got was that he wants to stop selling games and sell DLC. Like, to sell a game as chunks of DLC. Like, if you could imagine something like Wolf Among Us, except it's the whole game instead of just a story that you effectively watch and interact with. Like, that type of thing, where you get part of the story bought for a price, and then you get the next part of the story bought for a price. Because he keeps talking about in this article things like the idea that you can not develop the whole game and then release it. You can just develop part of the game and therefore alleviate the burden, which to me sounds like them trying to find a way to cheat their way out of taking risks. And anybody who knows anything about capitalism knows that if there is no risk, there is no innovation.
Yeah, this is... Let's play pretend and say he did do that. And we'll pick... Oh, we can't use Persona because it's a Japanese game. We'll pick Last of Us and say he did that to Last of Us. How many people would still buy that video game? And what would it do to the game itself? I don't think it would impact sales that much. Well, but it's still obnoxious.
What I think is what the silent rider to what he is saying is the idea that you could suspend development if it doesn't do well.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like, how many times does a fan base buy into episode 1 and then find episode 2 gets cancelled because 1 didn't sell enough before they stop buying your products entirely?
Yeah, you've got 2 chances before that happens. Once you do it twice, I'd say that's game over.
I mean, I don't know. I just can't. wrap my head around precisely what it is that he wants, because it doesn't quite fit any existing model. Like, it's not quite like an MMO or anything like that, or at least I don't think it is. MMOs are a genre that already exist, and he doesn't seem to be advocating for that.
He's mentioning broken up games, and he's mentioning subscription services. It's really hard to understand what he actually is trying to make as a point here. But yeah. Oh dear. Head to the article if y'all want to check it out. We'll post it in the show chat because it's something y'all really have to see for yourself.
Yeah, this is not some unimportant journalist or commentator. This is the guy that's running the Xbox project. The guy that's in charge and dictates the course of that console. And, he's decided that the things that are, wildly successful for Sony and wildly successful for Nintendo are, dying genres that are inappropriate to continue development on. I can't work out how he draws that conclusion or where he intends to go after that. Because the last I heard, lots and lots of people liked Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and last I heard, 1 billion people bought Persona, and Horizon Zero Dawn did okay.
It did really, really well. Like for a new IP that, basically nobody knows about, and it didn't have a huge amount of marketing, relatively speaking. Like, if you actually appraise Horizon Zero Dawn on the merits of what it is, you can't effectively. You can't judge it by the same sort of standard that you would judge a thing like Call of Duty, for instance, because that's got a huge amount of marketing spend behind it and a huge, pedigree, as one might call it. But as something that is completely sort of fresh off the production line, its sales were through the roof. It was
okay.
Like it showed that you actually can launch new IPs. I mean, it's always been very hard to gauge what qualifies as successful because they keep moving the bar. But
I only saw one article that said okay and didn't look more into it than that.
Most of the articles that I saw giving appraisals of it gave it a favourable one, generally speaking. Like it has issues, but generally speaking, is quite good. I haven't played it myself. Fern is getting it or has got it for the PS4, so when he's had time to sit down with that, we can get a proper appraisal off of him on how that goes.
Yeah. I was interested in it when it came out, but then I saw it was coming out the launch window of Persona, and I needed to work a couple weeks before that, so it didn't get a purchase, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, it launched in conjunction.
Oh, sorry, Nier Automata, not Persona.
It launched in conjunction with the Switch, basically. So, like, I wonder, like, a lot of people felt that it was important enough that it stole a lot of the Switch's thunder, and to some extent, if the Switch hadn't had so many problems, it probably would have. Which I think is sort of ironic.
The Switch. I guess they protected themselves in a way. Nintendo kept themselves safe by having a product that's broken. Or breaks all the time. Oh, the little bit I played with my cousin's Switch, it's been fine though. So.
Well, I mean, it's not like they don't have the manpower to do correction on this type of stuff. The impression that I got from seeing the updates roll by was that they were very, very fast off the block to furiously update everything that they could update to try and iron the problems out before they ended up despoiling the launch too much.
I see. Okay, but yeah, with this article, y'all should go read it for yourself.
Yeah, see if you can extract any common sense out of it, because I sure can't.
I'm just trying to find a conclusion we can talk about, but I don't see one really.
That's a conclusion in and of itself, because what that says really is that the head honcho at Xbox doesn't know what he's doing.
And he's talking out of his butt just to fill time here, but yeah, he's slamming the names of an entire type of game, and he has no conclusion anywhere. He's just like, yep, they're bad. Just trust me. They're just bad. And because subscription service, it makes very little sense.
I think that I think that there's been this sort of trend over the past 15 years or so to try and turn as many things as possible into subscription services because that's reliable, like month over month cash
Yeah,
flow. And
it's been a big push. Yeah,
I don't
unfortunately.
I don't know if I don't know if he's really come to terms with the fact that it's not actually an appropriate model for everything.
And the people hate it because they want to own the stuff they buy.
Well, it's not even just that. It's that they're already skinning people for goodness knows how many of these things.
Yeah.
Like if it was just we've already managed to extract a subscription service out of you for Xbox Live, and we've managed to, like, if you're playing, there are various subscription based games on that platform, so if you play one of those then you're paying two subscriptions. Now we want to sell games incrementally as well as a service. Yeah, no.
No. Yeah, no. I've been talking forever about, we need more finished games. Just give me finished and polished games. But we aren't going to get that if he sells the game in episodes.
Well, the thing is, you can sell games in episodes, but the reason this is the part that seems to be the core to his bizarre misunderstanding. The reason why people like the games he says are over the hill is because they are not episodic. That's the reason. The reason why they are not the way he wants them to be is because people like them for not being the way he wants them to be. He is wrong.
Yeah, they want big open worlds they can run around in Skyrim style. It's a thing that's cool and fun to do, and you can only get that with a game disc that has a big world on it from the get-go.
Yeah, the whole thing smells of reduction of business liability. He wants to be able to release part of a game and then call it quits if it doesn't do well. That's what it smells like.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we've been on this topic a little bit long, so let's move on to the next one. What do you say?
Yep, let's go.
Okay, so the next one, I'll do this one. So Atlas is revising the streaming restrictions for Persona 5 because Persona 5 is still giving us news. Because it's still Persona Fever.
But my spoilers.
You'll be okay. It's just Atlas stuff. So the game previously locked you out of streaming with the official PlayStation 4 streaming service past the date 7/7. So July 7th, you got locked. And that was after the 4th dungeon, I think. Yeah, so after the 4th dungeon, you got locked out. But before that, you could stream as much as you wanted. And they said they were going to loosen these policies up, but people freaked out about them. They just didn't want the first 3 weeks the game to have spoilers on streams. So then they've come and they've loosened it up now. And they've loosened it up to go to 11/19, which is right before the final act. So yeah, that is the day before the big final act.
Yeah, I've got to say, I'm not surprised that people are upset because it is effectively like people, the company telling people what to do with their own time and property. However, I don't know why they're as upset as they are because, and honestly, it's not something that does Atlas any good. It's not something that makes Atlas any money. They are doing it because they actually care about the experience of people who are trying to avoid spoilers and play the game. And
yeah,
I mean, maybe it's too heavy-handed. I don't know. Like, history will determine whether or not that's the case. Like, if this affects Atlas long term, then maybe it was too heavy-handed. But the reality is that they went out of their way to do something that could potentially cost them for the sake of making other people's game experience better than it would be otherwise. And
what
it's
really
hard for me to be upset about that.
Yeah, I can't get too mad at Atlas for this. And especially because they said they would let it up. If people are just patient, you'll be able to stream the game. But, people can't wait anymore. What baffles me is the air quote fan response is people spoiling the game in random comment sections because they're angry. Yeah, take it out on the fans of the game.
Well,
the game can't be streamed.
The sort of childish bullcrap you always find on the internet, though. There's nothing particularly new about that. I mean,
I was just surprised by how organized it was.
Well, remember Orgrimmar when the sixth Harry Potter book came out.
I think I was in Ironforge, but yeah, the same thing
That
happened.
was an Orgrimmar. Yeah, it was like there were corpses, like botted corpses en masse, spelling out Snape kills Dumbledore across the floors of capital cities and on the roofs of buildings and that kind of thing. And people just like making other people suffer in general terms. So, yeah, that's that particular aspect of things. But I don't like. Was Atlas like trying to C&D people who posted stuff on YouTube?
They didn't issue many takedown notices at all, from what I saw. In fact, I don't know if they issued any. I know two that got issued, actually, but that was it. They weren't very strict with this.
Because I mean,
They're
the one thing that I can see people feeling genuinely upset about, laying aside the extent to which it is justified, is if there are people for whom being the first batch of playthroughs is an important part of their personal revenue stream.
Yeah,
Like then
it's
I
just.
guess I can understand them getting upset, but
But those people will use capture cards anyway, so they won't be blocked.
well, yeah, that's what I'm talking
And
about.
since
That's why I asked about YouTube, because those people
yeah,
don't use the built-in system.
yeah. So so far this has been little more than a no trespassing sign, and then you go trespass anyway, and you don't get arrested because the cops aren't anywhere near. I mean, Alice doesn't really care if you do it. I think it was put up more as a warning to just try and deter people from doing it. It backfired horribly.
Well, yeah, but that's because people are douches. So,
Yeah.
like,
So
I don't feel any sort of animus towards Atlas over this. I don't comprehend the people who are genuinely upset that they want there to be a moratorium on ruining the game for other people.
yeah, it's quite sad. So we're we're approaching 2 hours, and we need to get through the rest of these topics if we do that. So I think we got two more. And did you do the Dev Q&A mashed in with your week, or is that something separate?
I won't bother to talk about it because I'll just get mad again.
Okay. So let's see. We got a fun article. We'll do one that you had. So you read this one. I skimmed it. Oh, it's not very long. I can read this on live. So PETA and Roger Jr. in Tekken 7. There is a kangaroo in Tekken 7 that has been removed from the game, and his name is Roger Jr. because of violence against animals. And animal activists said it's a bad thing.
Why does
there
PETA
aren't
still exist? How have people not driven them into the wilderness at this point?
Yeah, PETA is not mentioned to be the activist group, but
It's
I
PETA.
bet you it is.
It's PETA. It's always PETA.
Yeah, they're always the ones that have enough members to make a big enough stink about it.
The likelihood that it is PETA is inversely proportional to how sensible it is.
Yeah, so they're afraid that a little cartoon kangaroo beating up people is bad for animals.
I think that the idea was that like the kangaroo like put a dog in a headlock and punched it in the face in like a trailer or something.
Uh-huh.
But but Tekken, as most people who have played a Tekken game before know, also contains a bear.
Yeah, and
Quite a popular
Hazama,
character.
or whatever his name is. Yeah, Kuma is the big bear, and he is very scary. So, are they going to remove him too?
No, they're
You
not
can't really
removing
do
him.
that.
Well, they're not removing him, and the reason
Okay.
given for not removing him is that he looks strong enough to overpower a human.
Have you tried to fight a kangaroo before, dudes?
Yeah, that's the thing. Kangaroos are lethal. Like there's
It-
nothing there's nothing living in Australia that isn't lethal.
Yeah, that thing will kick you and you'll break in half. You're not gonna go flying. You're just gonna die.
Yeah, like kangaroos kill people. Like they can kill people. Like they can eviscerate you by kicking you, much in the way an ostrich can. Those legs are not weak. They jump on them
Yeah.
all the time. All the time.
Think
That's
about how
strong.
far they go with how much weight they have. Yeah, you're dead if if you get kicked by a kangaroo. Oh dearie me. So that was fun. PETA, stop.
They won't stop.
It is.
This is what they live for.
Yeah. At this point, I think they just like making people mad. I don't think they're actually an animal rights group. I think they just like making people mad.
I I think that's giving them too much credit. I think that they are as dumb and crazy as they look.
That's quite possible. They could actually be this insane. But the sad part of the story is the tech and developers listened to PETA, and they took Roger Jr. out of the game.
Yeah, well, it's something that you've been seeing quite a bit from developers, even Japanese developers to some extent, although to a lesser extent, since they seem to, in Japan, they seem to run the gamut between actively trolling Western audiences and capitulating to Western audiences. But the line that I've often heard from Japanese developers is that they'll just do what their detractors say because it's just too much work. It's too much work to fight it. It's too much work to deal with the fallout, and Americans don't appreciate their games anyway, so why should they bother?
Yeah, it's just sad. And this is only the Western release that's getting Ricky removed. So we should really have some kind of organized movement where we can string these guys' ideologies up and like just watch them die like we used to,
Well,
and show the East that look, keep Ricky in the game. Most people are fine with it. These people aren't going to buy your video game.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I don't know how you communicate that market data. Like, they have to be willing to test it out first. Unless it's possible that, because there are some people in PETA who are wealthy and powerful, maybe there is some leverage at work here, or we don't really know. But, yeah, the problem is that, in the marketplace of ideas, PETA has already lost again and again and again, but they don't go away. Like,
I have no idea how they're still around.
Well, I think that they're around because when you, and this is a theory that was propounded by, I don't remember who it was. Was it Mises? But that once people get to a certain level of wealth, the only thing left for them to do is feel guilty about it.
Uh-huh.
And so people go around looking for things to feel guilty about, which is why you see the whole social justice movement on campuses and that in the United States. It's because they're wealthy, so they do nothing but feel guilt. Like once you're tired of I can't remember, it might have been C.S. Lewis or Chesterton. Somebody had a pithy comment they made about it, about how the only sort of tantalizing vice left is guilt and self-loathing after a certain point. Once you've tried everything else, is to feel guilty about what you've got.
I mean, despair is pretty good. It tastes pretty good. I like it. Yeah, I get what you're saying, because I'm not sure I agree with it. I have to think about it.
No,
I'm not sure how much I agree with it.
I think that it's something that people do, but it's neither healthy nor sensible.
Yeah. So, poor Ricky. I didn't know the character very well, but I knew what he was. But yeah, he won't be in Tekken 7. That's sad. Moving on. This last thing I threw in there for filler. But Overwatch is finally getting new maps. You're getting 3 of them this year. Hooray. They're finally updating that. The thing that they should have been working on instead of new characters.
Yeah, I don't play Overwatch, so I don't really know anything about that. But I heard that they introduced some sort of like new game mode or something, and then they took it away again, and that made a lot of people sad. I heard about
that too. Yeah, it was like Earth mode in League of Legends. They gave them Earth mode for a while and took it away, and people wanted it back. Yeah, I've heard about that, but I don't remember what it is.
It looked to me like it was some sort of like story-based co-op team play thing.
I see.
I'm not really sure. I don't play Overwatch, so I didn't investigate it. But all I saw was that, they brought in this new cool system, and then we're taking it away again because we couldn't possibly leave you doing something you enjoyed. You have to enjoy yourself the way we tell you to. I mean, you think you want it, but you really don't.
Yeah, Blizzard needs.
Why are they so addicted to this bizarre way of thinking?
Because they have a superiority complex. They have to be better than everyone else. If they're not, the world just isn't right. somebody needs to give everyone at Blizzard a swift kick in the balls.
Oh,
Just
dear.
as hard as they can. Just bring them down a peg. I don't know how it's going to happen, but the market will get shaken at some point, and Blizzard's going to lose if they keep this attitude. I just got to wait for that to happen, and then y'all will finally be rescued from WoW.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll probably just hire up for a new project and chunk up the hype engine all over again. I don't know. Do they have any big projects in the works right now?
With Overwatch launching, there's talk of maybe a Diablo 3 thing going on, but we only have rumors. I don't know.
I haven't played Diablo 3 yet either because it's too expensive. Although I guess I could buy it with gold.
It's a good video game. It's a good video game. I like it. I like it a lot, actually. I play it a lot solo.
Man, it would cost me like $500,000 gold though.
It's fine.
I find it strange to think of it in this way. That I could go on WoW, I could farm up gold and buy Blizzard products. It just seems very strange.
Yeah. Ugh. It almost made me keep my sub up so I could play around with that. I wish I had been subbed during the great "You can do this" announcement so that I could have taken advantage of everything, but I was not, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I got my last set of tokens at about 60k each. And I did that like 2 hours before the system went live, and it shot up to 100k.
Yeah, should have sold them again at the peak and then bought again later.
Things. You can't sell
these. Right.
Right. Because that would break so many laws it wouldn't even be funny. But
yeah, right. I forgot.
But yeah, it's still strange to think that I can go farm Dragon Soul and then use the proceeds to buy a game. It's very, very odd.
You can at least add stuff to your wallet to discount the price if you decide to buy it.
I suppose that's true, but I'm still hoarding gold now because that's the way I pay my sub, because I want to pay money for my sub. But the token prices are gradually creeping up over time, so yeah, I need to keep as much gold on hand as possible in order to make sure that I can keep playing. But
that Overwatch article I was talking about was mostly there for filler in case we weren't filling enough time, and I think we filled enough time. So I don't really have much to say about that. Do you have any other stuff? Did I miss anything?
I don't know. Nothing comes to mind right now.
Yeah, I'd rather not sit through the developer Q&A because I'm losing my voice.
There's nothing in there apart from stuff that induces rage, in my opinion. Like, while there are a few interesting tidbits, there is also a dramatic profusion of bad reasoning and bad excuses. Like the one that I'll mention is their excuse for having poor communication on class development issues was that, if we comment on a question about a class, that means that 11 out of 12 people watching won't be interested because it's not about their class.
How many people went and looked up every single nonsensical, non-interesting post that every blue poster's made and just posted it underneath there? Because that's what I would do if I cared enough about Blizzard.
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, but there's this thing called blue trackers that everybody uses if they're interested in blue posts at all, and they will look and they will see what it's about.
One. Yeah, everybody at least follows the MMO champion one at the top of the screen. That's been there since the site started.
No, the other stupid piece of reasoning that had got a lot of people's attention was because they gated flying behind the new reputation that you've got to farm up, and then the major invasions mechanic from that content doesn't give that rep at all, and people are like, why doesn't it give rep? Because it's related directly to this thing, and it's a special activity we have to go out of our way to do, so why don't we get rep for it? And their answer was basically, well, we didn't feel like giving it to you. Like that was the entirety of their reasoning was, we gave you other awards, so we don't need to give you this one.
Just kick them in the balls. Somebody near Blizzard HQ, just go kick them all in the balls. That's what they all need. Hearing you talk about them, they are on such a high horse looking down from above without actually playing their game or knowing what they're doing. It's just funny. And I feel bad for you guys. Find a way out of that game.
Well, the thing is that there's still things that they're good at. Like, their encounter design team makes fun encounters. There are occasionally janky ones with problems, ones that are just balanced poorly and that. But generally speaking, they're quite good. The problem is their attitude and their lack of coordination between departments.
Yeah, it's just every time I hear about the class designers and the state of the classes in that game, I'm like, I'm so glad I'm not playing. I mean, the class I rolled would have been the lucky roll. I would have been fairly safe playing Druid.
Yeah, Resto Druids and Guardian Druids are basically, the kings of their castle right now.
Yeah, so I would have been lucky, but still, I wouldn't want to have to put up with all that. And I had my worst legendary. I got the worst one, the belt that has the passive on it that you're never supposed to let go off.
I've got like 8 legendaries or something at this point, so most people have got quite a few.
But in the interim time, assuming I had continued to raid before the bump, I would have been stuck with the worst legendary for the majority of that time, and it would not have been fun.
I very much hope that they just dump that system. Like, they have commented at length that they don't like it.
It needs to just go. Yeah. Just out the window.
It has no good parts and no advantages. They're fooling themselves if they think otherwise. I've never encountered anybody commenting that they think that it's a really good system and they prefer it to any of the previous systems.
Yeah, it's just a bad system. It was a big reason I quit. I got stuck with that terrible, terrible, terrible one, and I'm just like, well, I'm behind forever now, as far as I know.
Yeah, well, they because of that, they altered the stats on a lot of the bad legendaries, and also they dramatically increased your odds of getting them compared to what they once were, and there was one other change they made. They separated the specs, so you build up bad luck protection on specs independently of each other.
Okay. Yeah, it was just... I was quite mad. I couldn't get a Guardian one because the drop rate was so low, and I wanted to play Bear part-time, but I couldn't do that. So, yeah. Well, get yourself fixed.
Well, at least they aren't cheaping out with 2 tiers of raid content and expansion like last time.
Yeah. Stop stealing my friends. Give them back if you're not going to treat them right. If you're not going to treat them right, just give them all back. I regret mashing them all together to make that guild. I regret it. Regret introducing everybody. Oh, dear. Because nobody seems to be having a good time. It seems like everyone I talk to is like, I hate this. Wow, it's terrible right now.
Man, you think I'm bad? You should listen to what it's like raiding with Kayuka.
Yeah, I don't know why y'all keep playing that video game.
I feel bad for Kayuka. Like, Demon Hunt is just such a garbage class. It's so... It's... I'm 100% convinced that it was just designed to be cool and edgelordy and not designed to be in any way good at all. Like, it can be theoretically fun to play. The DPS one, anyway. The tank one is crap. It can be theoretically fun to play, but it's got so many problems. Like, Blink, the mage spell, has classically been the button which you press. If you press it during a raid fight, all hell will break loose because you don't know what it might do. And the Demon Hunt is based entirely around mechanics like that.
Yeah, you might blink forward. You might go through the world. You might stay in the same spot. You don't know.
Half the time, if you blink into the wrong sort of terrain, well, it's not a blink, but if you use the fell dash that Demon Hunters have, and you dash into the wrong sort of terrain, it will trigger the anti-fly hack code and just disconnect you.
Good job, Liz.
It turns sort of hilarious and sort of tragic.
Good job, Blizzard. But yeah, I hope Blizzard gets better because y'all don't seem to be having a good time.
Well, sometimes we have a good time, and it's most of the stress is based on the difficulty of the content we're doing. But
Yeah.
that's what I expect. Like, I just don't like the way Mythica's tuned. Like, we've taken 2 good solid weeks of smashing our face against Crozus to get Crozus down, but it's a case of the requirements to get Crozus down are basically nobody can die, which is not strictly true, but there's a very, very harsh DPS check, and you don't have very much time to get things right. And yes, that is challenging, but it's sort of a bit annoying when, oh, well, we're 3 minutes into the fight, 2 people stood in fire and they're dead, where everybody else is fine, but I guess we'll just wipe up because we can't possibly finish it now. Like, that's a frustrating way of doing things. But, I understand why it is the way it is. I just wish it wasn't.
So, yeah, I think we're done. I think that's everything. So, email topic of the week. Read the art. Come to our Discord. Go live show chat. Click on the article I posted at 12:38 on April the 30th if you're on the East Coast, and read that article and tell us what you think his conclusion is. There's one you have to actually do homework for. I'm giving you homework because you never write us emails anyway. So, closing comments go.
I don't know what that guy is on about. Seriously.
I
no matter how many times I read through that article, I couldn't work out what he was trying to say.
Yeah, Well, what?
It was word salad. But,
yeah. I miss Fern.
Come back.
Please come back, Fern.
We need you.
We need a third voice. We really do.
If we're really unlucky, Fern won't be back next week. But
oh dear,
if he does get back, he may at least be in condition to interject now and again. But I contacted him after he had finished his trip to see how he was, and he was pooped. Like he was exhausted after that drive, and he's going to be driving immediately before next week's show, so he may not be in any condition to participate.
Yeah, we may scoop him if he's got enough energy when he gets back. We may start without him because he may not get home for a while, is what it sounded like. He'd be basically coming in the door. So, I think we're done, folks. We'll see you next week, hopefully with a Fern. Hopefully with that Fern that's not going to collapse on the bed on us. We'll see y'all later. Sayonara, bye-bye.